Okay, hi. We're going to revisit the question of run-on sentences for the Writing 1 class today. We started to talk about this during the last class. So let's just review for a minute. When we look at a group of words, if we're trying to figure out whether the group of words is a correctly written sentence, not a run-on, not a fragment, the first thing we want to do is take 3 steps to analyze the group of words. So we practiced this last time. Our first step is to locate all the subjects and predicates in the group of words. The second step is to look at the clauses that those subjects and predicates create and see if they're main clauses or subordinate clauses. If they're main clauses, we're going to underline them. If they're subordinate clauses, we're going to put brackets around them. And then the third step is to think about which one of these sentence structures, which one of these designs for sentences we find that we have. Is it a simple sentence, just one main clause? Is it a compound sentence, which is more than one main clause, joined together with a coordinating conjunction? That's a fanboy, right? For, and, nor, but, or, yet, or so. Or a complex sentence with a subordinate clause first, followed by a main clause, or the other way around, a main clause followed by a subordinate clause. So once we do that analysis, we look at what design we have. Do we have this design, or one of these two designs? And if instead of one of those designs, we find we have something like this, 2 main clauses next to one another, or 2 main clauses next to one another joined only with a comma, then what we have is a run-on sentence. If we have a run-on sentence, then we have some options for fixing it that we talked about last time. So let's practice a couple more sentences and go through this process and see what we see. All right? So on the handout we were using last time, let's look at number 3. Okay, it says, for-profit colleges are often very expensive. Students may end up with lots of debt. So the first step we want to take is to look for the subjects and predicates. And in order to do that, we want to make sure we check all the nouns and pronouns that we find in the sentence to see if they're subjects. If it's a noun or pronoun that's doing something, that has a verb with it, then it's a subject. Okay, so for-profit colleges are often very expensive. Students may end up with lots of debt. We can look for subjects and predicates. And we see colleges. Colleges are, so there's a subject and a predicate, right? And we also might see students may end up. So there is a subject and a predicate, may end up. Let's check all the other, so we have 2 subjects and predicates that go together. 1 subject and predicate, colleges are, 2 subjects and predicates, students may or may end up. But let's check all the nouns and pronouns to make sure we're not missing any subjects. Okay, so we also have the other nouns in this sentence that we find are lots and debt, right? Lots is a noun. Those are things. Lots are things. Debt is debt is a noun, but it's not doing anything. I'm wondering whether lots is a noun. Actually, it's probably it could be a noun, might be a adjective, I'm not sure. Anyway, so neither of them is connected to a verb. So they're not subjects. The debt isn't doing anything. The debt what? All right, so we found that we have 2 subjects and predicates. 1, 2 pairs that go together. That means we're going to have 2 clauses. So let's figure out what the words are that make up those clauses. So the first group of words that I see that go with the subject and predicate colleges are is for-profit colleges are often very expensive. For-profit colleges are often very expensive. That's the group of words that make up a clause for which colleges are is the subject and predicate. So it's a clause because it's a group of words with a subject and a predicate. Is it a main clause or a subordinate clause? If it's a main clause, it will be a sentence all by itself. For-profit colleges are often very expensive. That can be a sentence by itself, right? So that's a main clause. I'm going to underline it to show that it's a main clause. Now the next group of words that go with the next subject and predicate students may end up is students may end up with lots of debt. That's a group of words with a subject and predicate. And the question is, can it be a sentence by itself or not? Students may end up with lots of debt. That can be a sentence all by itself. What if I said, because students can end up with a lot of debt, what? Or, although students can end up with a lot of debt, what? Right? Those wouldn't be sentences by themselves. They couldn't be sentences by themselves. They would be subordinate clauses. But here we have a main clause. Students may end up with lots of debt. Okay, so look what we ended up with. We have a main clause and another main clause. And right here, so what we have is like this. It's two main clauses next to one another, not connected in any way. Right here, in between the two main clauses, there's nothing connecting them. No punctuation, no words. It's just two main clauses, side by side, with nothing connecting them. So that means it's a run-on sentence. If we have a run-on sentence, we have three choices for fixing it. We can put a semicolon in between them, which we tried before. We can put a comma and a fanboy, one of our coordinating conjunctions. We have to use the one that makes sense. Or we could end the first clause, end the sentence, and start the second clause as a separate sentence. We tried that last time too. Let's try this middle one here. So we say, for-profit colleges are often very expensive. What fanboy would go there? Something like, so. For-profit colleges are often very expensive, so students may end up with a lot of debt. So we can put a comma and so, right? For-profit colleges are often very expensive, comma, so students may end up with lots of debt. So what we did there was we put a comma and a fanboy. So instead of a run-on sentence, two main clauses next to one another, we ended up with a compound sentence, right? Two main clauses joined by a coordinating conjunction. Okay? All right. That's the first video for today. So I'm going to sign out, and then I'll come back with another video for today. All right. See ya.